everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for our Chase for Business Advancing Black Entrepreneurs Navigating Your Cash Flow, a Growth Choice webinar. I'm really excited to be with you today. My name is Elisa Joseph, and I am Vice President and Director of Programs for the U.S. Black Chambers. At USBC, we really want everyone to have the opportunity to grow and strengthen your business. And so we want you to have real revenue, real procurement opportunities. And a lot of the work that we're doing and that you're going to be participating in today has really been focused on that. From our largest companies in USBC's President Circle to our smaller companies, we see the ability to expand your business using expense management techniques, financing, and contracting. So today, I'm going to run through this webinar with you to really talk about how you manage your cash flow more effectively so that you experience an increase in your net profit. We're also going to talk about utilizing customer segmentation strategies for business development, for growth in your sales. And we're going to share some tips and resources and strategies to help you all be successful. So today, if you've checked your email, you should have a presentation workbook, and we'll be walking through that workbook for this session. I hope to share a couple of stories, some insights and examples to really help you crystallize some of the concepts that we're talking about today and really improve your business development strategy. So right now, we're going to get started with just a quick overview of just what we're doing with Chase, and then we're going to jump right into the areas of navigating your cash flow. So the Chase Advancing Black Entrepreneurs program, we've been participating in for the past 3 years now. It was a wonderful program coming to support businesses, Black businesses in particular, as you were navigating the pandemic. And so we've really chosen the best of the best webinars to continue this practice with Chase. We will, in future webinars, be bringing you Chase business consultants and other specialists to really dig a lot deeper into really helping you with whatever business challenge or whatever business opportunity that you see. So let's start with first talking about navigating your cash flow. What does it mean to increase your cash in and decrease your cash out so that you maximize your business success? So cash flow is one of those things that really keeps your business running smoothly. And it really is a thing or an area that's really focused on not only for yourself, but also if you decide to finance your business, it really is about how cash is moving in and out, when you have leaner times, so the cyclical nature of your business, as well as when you really have those wonderful spurts of cash, how you manage your expenses is part of that, and that you have cash when you need it, because that's the most important thing. So as we move to the next slide, we're going to do a really quick survey. So one of the things that we always like to measure is kind of how we start and how we end to see if we're doing a good job of being able to provide the information that you need. So we're going to do this poll that asks how confident you are that you have the cash to bridge a 1-month closure of your business. So the poll is up. Please feel free to begin answering that, and we will come back and show the results. And we will give it 1 more minute. Okay, so we want to show the results right now. Gives us a good sense of where all of us are. So, okay, we've got about 42 to 25% of us that are either worried or a little concerned, right? So that's about 67% of everyone who's on today. And then we've got somewhere around 32% or so that feel really confident and optimistic. And so that's a great mix, because what we will have an opportunity to do, and what I would love for you all to do as we're working through this, is peer one-on-one, connection is really important as we're doing these sessions. And so As I'm moving through, and there's some concepts that you either align with or ones that you have questions with, we're going to have you leverage each other as part of this, as well as answer your questions. And so feel free to leverage the chat as part of this webinar today. And I know that we'll get the answers that all of us are seeking. So I thank you for that, and we will get going. So what's really important when we start talking about cash flow is really understanding the basics of it. So what's the best practice to use to understand how to effectively manage your cash flow? How do you maximize your cash in? So we've got and minimize your cash out. So we have a tool that we're going to share to help you understand how that works. And then how do you make your cash work for you? So that's everything from how do you reduce your costs to maximize your profits, and how do you really understand how to navigate your cash flow so that really helps you be able to know when to hire people, when to buy inventory, that it really, you can use it as a tool for your spending. And so let's talk first about how to monitor cash flow in and out. I'm going to start with the basics. So just a quick stat, 50% of small businesses operate on fewer than 15 days cash buffer. It was a little bit more drastic when the pandemic hit, and I think it's starting to improve a little bit, but the goal is that we want to extend that time frame, right? We want it to be a lot longer than 15 days. And so that stat really means that within a 15-day period, if you didn't have all the cash coming in that you needed, that you might have to shut down for a time because you're not able to pay your employees, or other expenses like rent, utilities, and the like. And so this is what we're trying to avoid as part of this conversation today. The next slide really begins to talk a little bit about how to do what we're doing today, which is how do we build that cash buffer so that it gives you the confidence to know that you're not going to be inundated with overdue bills because you have some shortfalls. So I'm going to share a tool that Chase has with you in a moment or so. Let's take a look at the next slide. So we're going to talk about the types of cash inflows and outflows. So there's operating. So that's really kind of your day-to-day. What do you need to do to operate your business? There's investing. What cash do you have on hand that you can put aside to invest either, in other cash vehicles, inventory, all the things that you might need to run your business. And then finally, how do you leverage financing to give you that inflow of cash so that you're able to expand your business? Next slide. So I'm going to share with you just in a second what this business cash flow tool looks like. Chase created this tool that allows you to do a couple of things, right? You can visualize over a year's time your inflows and outflows to track your performance, plan, and also plan for your future. So this is like a tool that you can create your own scenarios for. You can either decide how to project what it is that you want to do, right? Or you can look at your current financials, put those numbers in and see where it is that you're moving to and what things you might need to do to either improve, to mitigate, expenses, to mitigate those outflows in the business. So this is a really great tool to do that. If you're on page, right now we're somewhere around page, 7 to 11 in your participant guide. So if you're following along and you have it, please turn to that. And I am going to move really quickly here to share this tool. So just give me a minute. So hopefully all of you can see this. There's a direct link to this tool at chase.com/cashflow. And we'll share all these tools with you afterwards. It's also outlined in your workbook. But this cash flow tool really is so helpful in being able to, at a moment's glance, do those scenarios that are going to help you make the right kinds of business decisions for your company. What's also nice about this tool is that it also has a demo. So if you wanted to just click on the demo, you know, after this or at any time, it will help you sort of understand how to utilize the tool as well. So one of the things, I'm going to do this really quickly. We're going to start first with our inflows. And so just quickly, some examples of inflows are things like, you know, sales, royalties, fees, and commissions. And those are the things that we're going to be talking about in terms of what's going to make your business go, right? So we're going to pick a category. So as you can see, we're in this area called inflows. We're going to pick a category and we're going to talk about this in terms of our online sales, right? It allows us to do that. And so we're just going to say web sales just as a descriptor, right? And then we're going to talk about the frequency that they come in. We're just going to set that for monthly. We're going to look at all months. And we're going to put an amount. Let me just see if it'll let me do. And we're going to put an amount here. So let's say that amount is $50,000. Okay. So what you see here is that we started out there. They have an example in here, like cake platters, for instance. And so that's 5,000. But we decided that we've got another product that we're going to sell online that's going to earn us 50,000. We can pick, I'm going to pick one more category, which is we're going to do a trunk show. And that we're just going to make that an event, for instance. And the frequency of that is going to be, we're going to do this on a quarterly basis. It then allows us to then input in an amount. And so let's say that we're going to make somewhere around $3,000 on our trunk sales on a quarterly basis, right? And so you can see here how all this is listed in the operating space. Now I'm going to go to outflows. So you just kind of click this. We're going to move to the outflow space, right? And here in outflows, here are some examples. So wages, payroll is an example of that. Any insurance costs that we have to pay, any utilities. We talked about doing a trunk show, for instance. What would those event expenses be? We talked about the online space. What does it look like in terms of either subscription fees or web fees? So we're going to put in a couple of things relative to that. I'm going to leave the utilities in here for now. And let me just check. Let me see if I can edit this a little bit. And so this would be, I'm going to make this a little bit lower. So $2,000 for the year. So you can see you can edit your entries as well. So let's look, what do we want to do here? So we've got some payroll that we need to put in place, and this is salaries, right? And the frequency of this is going to be, we'll say monthly, all months. And let's say our payroll runs us about $3,000 a month. So we're going to add that. And then we're going to add another category, and I'm going to pick here technology. And we're going to talk about web management here. Frequency will probably be monthly as well, all the months. And we're going to say that costs us about $250 a month. And then the final piece I'm going to add in here, because we have this trunk show, is let's make this sort of marketing and promotion. And this will be for the trunk shows. And we'll make that quarterly to align with what we did originally. And we're going to say that that expense is going to be, let's say, $1,500. Okay. So now we're going to compare and see where we land in doing this. So again, this is a very ambitious one, but it shows you kind of over the year what it would look like. So this is a great way of being able to see the trajectory, you know, of your spend. Now, you can go in and also, you know, change it based on what your, you know, your actual financials look like, and sort of then see what does it look like, you know, is it an up and down movement? Is it cyclical? Do I have a steady track? Am I trending downward for some reason? So that allows you to really make some good decisions around what it is that you need to do as it relates to cash flow. So my hope is that you will use this cash flow tool. As I said, we will share this after the call as well. So we're going to go back to our slides. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to do one more thing. Since I've got the pointer, I've got the cursor in my hand. We're going to talk. We're going to go back to the slides for a minute. I'm going to bring up another tool that we're going to use, which really focuses on competition, right? Because that is what is the driver for us in terms of our cash flow and the amount of sales, money, that revenue that we bring into the business. So let's bring the presentation back up and we will run through the next section. And we can go to the next slide. So this is the link, cash flow analysis, chase.com cash flow analysis. So again, we will send that out to you. So let's talk about maximizing cash in, what that looks like, what that means. So part of this is knowing your competition, right? Because we all have to be able to make sure that we differentiate ourselves in the marketplace. And what does that mean? Is it lower pricing? Is it luxury pricing based on who it is that we're selling to? Who in the market is doing the same thing that we're doing? How do we distinguish ourselves in the marketplace so that we're able to capture a greater share of those scales? So if you could in the chat, just put, has your competitive landscape changed at all in the past year? And feel free to just kind of share that in the chat. We'll go back in a little bit and sort of share your answers. Next slide. And so we're going to be talking about what does this competitive landscape look like? And so if you turn to page 12 of your workbook, there is a link there. I'm going to bring this up shortly to just sort of share with you what that looks like. But just as we look at the workbook example itself, what you'll see is, here's your business. Here, some of the value that's added. Transportation's included at lunch for a free lunch provided. Kind of what's the value of that? What are your competitors doing, right? So your business is my favorite school. This is what it does. Here are your competitors in the marketplace, right? And if you looked at them, how would you rate them, right? How would you rank them? How would you rank them based on against your price? So here are their prices, here are their rankings. And then if you look at this is a great segmentation model that demonstrates the price and value between you and your competitors. So if you look at yourself in the middle here is kind of the darker circle, here's where all of those other companies sit around you. And that is basically what this tool does. It gives you an understanding both from a physical perspective as you list your businesses as well as those that are online to have you really rate and rank and figure out where your business is lays within the landscape. If your sales are slower, is it because there's some additional value that you're not adding? Is it based on price? Is it, what is it based on? And so that's how this really comes into play for you. Let's go to the next slide for a minute, and then I'm going to jump into the tool. So I'm going to jump into this tool. I just wanted to give you an understanding of what the spreadsheet looks like itself and kind of all of the areas that you can incorporate in it. It actually is now online, which is what I'm going to share with you as opposed to being an Excel spreadsheet, but it does the same thing. So again, I'm going to jump out for a second and bring up the next tool that we have. And this should be, you should be able to see this. This is within a web page for Chase, which is really in their business education section. As I said, this used to be a spreadsheet that we used to share, but now it's online, and so you can do it a lot more easily and quickly. But this really is about really cash flow, again, maximizing cash in, which is where we are right now, knowing your competitors. So everything we're talking about today, in addition to what I'm sharing, you have a bird's eye view of looking at it online. Besides the workbook that we're giving you, besides what you're hearing from me, you can go to this yourself and be able to see it. And so we're going to touch on right now, which is know your competition. And as you can see, you can click on each of these links. So we talked about cash flow. You can see that that area comes up and you can just hit the next button and look through each of the slides. But we're going to go to know your competition for this segment. And I'm hitting next. And so again, it just gives you an overview of where do you stand in your competitive landscape. So again, we've talked about that. How does your business stack up around features? So if you click on that, it's going to ask you things like, how do you stand in terms of location, reputation, merchandise, all of that. Pricing is a key factor. What is it that you're charging? And understanding your pricing ranges, and do they fall high, mid, or low? And then value, what value do you add? Because that's a key competitive distinction for you. So features plus pricing equals value. And how do you top your use your features and your pricing combined to create value and draw more customers? So we hit the next button. We've gone through that part. It's going to take us to the next piece. So we're going to just throw a business name in here. Okay, and we're gonna, if you click on this little information tab, it should give you an understanding. But what are our value features? And our value features are, you know, quick and responsive service, right? And I'm gonna choose a value rating of, let's see, I'll choose one of 7. And I'm going to choose a price point of, say, 150 bucks. Okay. And then you'd put your competitors in, right? And let's say it's not so good business. Okay. And again, what are the value features? We'll say that it might be, let's just say, ease of use, for lack of a better descriptor. But we're going to give them a value of somewhere around 5. And we're going to make their price point, say, 135. I'm going to add that. And when you hit this plus button, you can add another business. So we're going to say, let's say Slimy Ventures, right? And their value is, we charge what we think you should pay. Okay. And let's say we value them somewhere around the 2 mark, and their price is going to be somewhere like, say, $175, right? So we're going to hit next. And as you can see, this is how it shares where we are value-wise, right? And so our business is here. The not so good business is a little bit lower than us. And the really not so good business is sort of on the tail end, down at the bottom. They've got the highest cost, but they've got the lowest perceived value, right? And so as we're looking at value, obviously we want to be kind of in these ranges. We want to, you know, have a price in the mid-range to, you know, in terms of what makes sense. And the best thing about this is that you can also download this as a picture or as a PDF. So it's something that you can hold on to. We're going to go to just the next. So there's 2 other sections within this. This allows you to just sort of, you know, create a list of things that you want to take action on in terms of improving your value with your business. Right. And then finally, you can download, as I said, and save this. And it just sort of prompts you to go to the next chapter. So I hope this was helpful, but it is a way to be able to understand where you're sitting in the competitive vein of those that provide a similar service or product as you. And it's a good touch point to, again, help you be able to set pricing in the right way and, maximize the cash that you bring in. So we will go back to the presentation. So now we're going to talk about how do we segment our customers, because at the end of the day, it's really important to know the behavior of your customers. Like, do you have customers that that are coming in, all the time, regardless of what's going on? Do you have customers that come in maybe, every quarter, but they buy a ton of stuff when they come in, right? So it really is about understanding how your customers buy from you, how you manage your inventory as a result of this, and how you can build loyalty and expand your base with this. And so a couple of things, let's move to the next slide. And this is in your workbook. So if you go to, I want to say page 12 in your workbook, this has you identify, or 13, this has you identify who your customers are. So you want to do this in these categories of existing customers versus potential customers, right? So we want to know who our best customer is and who's our sustaining customer as part of this as we look at our existing customer base. And if you've got a couple of other categories, you can add those as well. And then as we're looking at attracting new customers or our potential customers that we want to go after, do any of them look like some of the other customers that you have, right? And then what are the things that you're doing for those customers that you could do for your new ones? And then do we have aspirational customers, ones that you'd really like to have because they, their word, their loyalty, their influence is really important. And they're able to drive more customers to you. So this is a great grid in terms of really understanding how to segment your customers, put in the types of characteristics that they have, because at the end of the day, it's really going to improve your bottom line. So let's go to the next slide. So let's talk about what each of those categories mean, right? So your best customer, when they shop with you, they spend a lot, right? So what kinds of customers are typically falling into that category for you? And do you have a sales goal that you can set for them? And again, you can use, past performance, your past financials to help determine that, what that number should be. And then at the end of the day, how do you reach out to them? How do you keep them coming back? How will you continue to engage them, right? Our next slide is going to talk about the sustaining customer. This is the one I mentioned where, they shop frequently, they're loyal, they may not spend a lot, but they're making these smaller purchases on a regular basis. So again, just trying to define who are the folks who are falling into that category. And when you define folks, you can define by a certain level of demographic, whether that be age, whether that be type of business that they're in or the type of career that they're in. It might be, again, around what habit they use when they're coming in, like what are the items that they're most frequently purchasing, right? Because again, that helps drive what you're going to need to do from an inventory perspective. And so again, you want to set sales goals around them, and you want to be able to reach out to them as well. So are they folks who are on social all the time? Do they respond to discounts that you might send out, through newsletters or your blogs, or do they respond to coupons? Like, what are the things that are driving forces for them that bring them into your shop? The next slide is going to talk about these potential customers that I mentioned. Your lookalike customer. So these are folks who look like your current customer, but they're not shopping with you, right? So we talked about who's in your competitor space. So how do you draw some of those folks away from your competitor? Remember, you've just done your competitive analysis, and that's giving you a really good idea of what your competitors are charging, right? So do you beat them on price? Do you beat them on value? Do you beat them on, loyalty points? A lot of, I'm sure most of you have seen things like on social media right now, there's a lot of ads that go on, and you really do see them comparing themselves against other competitors in that market that are also sponsoring ads, right? So you want to take a look at those kinds of things to see how they really help you be able to get this customer that's shopping someplace else, but you want them to shop with you. So, what are the items that they're buying? How frequently are they buying them? Again, price points, all of those things are really important. What sales goals do you want to put across them? So you might want to start out smaller because you've got to really build volume in terms of the numbers of people who are coming in to see you, who are buying from you online. But you can, gradually uptick those numbers as you really have your promotional activities kind of kick in as part of this, right? And so that goes to how you're going to reach them. So just make sure that those things sort of match in terms of your tactics, your marketing and communications tactics to what your sales goals are going to be. And then the final one is that aspirational customer, right? That's the person who's going to take your business to the next level. What kind of people do you want, or are you thinking about that fall into that category? And again, what are the sales goals and how you're going to reach out to them? How are you going to make that different than what you do with other customers? Because, maybe it's some luxury brand that you're offering, some special kind of customized service, right? Those are things sometimes that, VIP level type services or valet kinds of services are all the things that kind of draw in that aspirational customer. So think about what the behaviors are that they respond to, and then figure out how you attract them as part of your sales strategy. So let's go to the chat for now. Think about your customers right now. Have there been any new insights that you've discovered about your customers recently that you may not have known, but might be an opportunity for you to increase your sales volume as a result of that? And I'll give you all a minute to respond to that. And I'm going to check to see if there's any other questions that I can answer while we're here. So feel free to just respond in the chat. And don't be shy. Any thoughts? I see something in Q&A. Let's see. What if you're not getting any customers? That's a great question. So I'm going to answer this live. So some of this, it really means that you have got to spend some time really identifying who it is that you're going after as a customer, right? You got to really, again, I talked about kind of the demographics of who it is that you're looking to serve. You have to spend some time understanding that, because it enables you to target your marketing approach to reach them. So some of it might be, am I going to be able to reach them, via social media, or are they a different type of customer, right? Where it's going to be a much more hands-on approach. Do I need to reach them, via the phone? Still works these days. But do I need to reach them in a different way? Is it direct mail? Is it me having them come to an event that I do, so that I'm able to really see, I can see them face to face, and I know if I see them face to face, I can sell them on what it is that I want to do, right? So that's why we're doing this today, because it really does help you understand and be able to plan around who your customer is. I think the other thing is to really think about what your social media approach is, or figure out how you're offering some initial discounts or some level of display of what it is that you're doing. People respond, a lot to video. That's sort of the best way. So if you're leveraging, IG, or you're leveraging TikTok, being able to talk about your company or being able to have others that you've served talk about your company. Those testimonials are really powerful for folks. And those are things that you can continue to push out multiple times over the course of a week, over a day. So some of this is really about understanding who it is you're targeting, what you're going after, making sure your price points make sense. And then if you've served folks, how do you have them vouch for who you are? That's a real important piece. I'm going through a couple of things. People are skittish based on market rate. Okay, you have a bath spa. So I think you have to, from the bath spa perspective, I think it's always important to go see what other spas are doing, particularly those that you think that are doing really well. I know we're still coming out of COVID, and that's still a hurdle. So sometimes it might not be focusing on in person. It might be focusing on what are you doing in the e-commerce space that's going to have value for folks, right? Are there any products that you're selling that you could discount that are going to have some value for folks? You might want to take the approach of really working on it from the standpoint of self-care, right? Or even mental health. Frame it in a way that's going to be really appetizing for folks, that's going to help them bring them peace, right? Like find those sort of key areas, those key words that help you sort of build your strategy around it and build it in a way that people are going to respond to it. I'm going to do a couple more. Just give me a minute to read them. Yeah, I mean, we're in an inflationary environment. People do sort of make that decision as to, I need to pay for this as opposed to that. But, I would look at your service as your concierge service and figure out what services can you tailor a little bit more directly. And what I mean by that is you might need to pare it down a little bit, which allows you to pare down your price so that makes it affordable. You might want to, align it to, we have all kinds of recognition months, recognition weeks, right? You might need to align it to that sort of thing. So it gets people thinking. People do respond when it's time to do things like Valentine's Day and the other, and things like that, right? And so there's a lot of different things that you can do. I would also see if I could align with, wedding planners or folks who are doing events and be able to craft or customize something that they can promote on your behalf, right? So sometimes it's not about doing it on our own. Sometimes leveraging or developing networking relationships that allow you to be able to get your service out there is great. I think there's still, now that everybody's kind of coming back, there are still these opportunities with some of the larger events where you're able to display what you're doing. But you've got to be creative, right? People won't just come to you just because you're there. You've got to sort of look at those places where it might be an opportunity for you to do something that's really unique. And look at spaces where, and I'm just going to throw this out here, and it might be something that works or it doesn't, but, churches do a lot of weddings, right? It might be a good thing to sort of, talk to some of your area churches. Usually people are going through, before they get married, there's a counseling piece. Maybe there's something that you can offer as part of that, as they're doing their counseling piece. Maybe it's something that you offer as part of their wedding, a wedding sort of gift kind of thing, gift offer, right? So you got to get creative on some of these things. But it is tough when you're in a space where people are looking at, price. So you got to demonstrate what your value is, right? At the end of the day, if people become loyal based on what you do, how you make them feel, how responsive you are to them, and what value you're bringing. What makes you different in terms of what you're doing, and how do you, it might not be your entire service that you're offering at, say, I don't know, I'm just gonna throw out a price, $150. Maybe it's something that you offer at $50 that hooks them in. Maybe it's, a Facebook webinar folks are doing events all the time on social, right? So maybe it's one of those types of things that at least gets people to understand who you are, and you can begin to develop a following. And so some of this is about really cultivating people. It isn't, everything isn't sort of a cold sale, so to speak, right? You want to be able to get people there that can speak to the value that you bring. Sometimes it's not about what we say about ourselves, it's about somebody else making a difference for us, right? And so, and any of you, I see that some of you are already communicating around ideas. These are the kinds of things, and this is why we do this work, to be able to share it. Etsy is also a great place. While I buy stuff on Amazon, when I really want to get really special about what I'm doing, I go to Etsy, because I can find something that is really, really special and tailored to the people that I care about, whether it's my staff. It's something that's going to be unique. So if you've got those kind of unique ideas, it's also about figuring out what platforms you need to be on as well. So hopefully that helped. And thank you all for all the stuff you're putting in the chat too, because these are some really great ideas as well. So as we move to the next slide, let's talk about the value segmentation, because we were just talking about, how you tailor your communications. How do you reward people who are buying from you, right? And how you identify new audiences. So let's go to the next slide. Right? Pricing is important. So you all have been talking about kind of this inflationary environment. I don't want you to you have to examine, that's why this cash flow conversation is important, right? Because you've got to really take a look at how you modify certain pricing over other pricing. I don't want you going in a hole, but I want you to be thinking about what in the supermarket industry, they call it loss leaders, right? So if you go in the supermarket and you see all the candy and stuff up front, I'm a big Cracker Jack. I love Cracker Jacks. That is where I zero in on. So what it does is it makes me go down the rest of the aisle, even if I hadn't planned on going down the aisle, right? And they call those loss leaders. So think about what items or what products or what services you're offering that are really minimal to offer. They offer a premium, but they're minimal in terms of labor time, any expenses toward putting the product together, and lead with that, so that you're able to then hook people in so you can upsell them to the other thing. Let's go into the next slide. Habits change, cost shifts, competitors attempt new strategies. That's what we're talking about today, right? Because we're in an inflationary environment, and sometimes I think what we have to do is, some of what we're seeing in these costs are people gouging. You got to figure out how to, what's your angle, right? Just because people could, as you saw in the pandemic, just because people could charge a certain amount because they knew that folks were looking for certain things, doesn't mean it was necessarily right. So how do you flip the script, so to speak, where you're able to really show yourself as the cost conscious one? And that's why they should work with you. Next slide. Pricing that's good for you and your customers. So you can bundle services, so it feels like people are getting a deal. I love a deal. I'm sure a lot of you love a deal. How do you bundle two things together? So if you got one thing that costs $30 and another thing that costs $60, right? That's 90. How do you price it at 75? So singularly, it's going to cost them 90, but if you bundled it, people feel like they're getting more, right? And the price is at a point that makes it palatable for them. If people buy in bulk, right? What discounts can you give? So some of this is also about, creating a strategy, a reward strategy for your customer base where, if they're buying, 2 or 3 things as opposed to the one thing, they're going to get, 5%, 10% discount. If you go on Amazon, they do that all the time. So sometimes it's also look at what larger folks are doing, because it's a great strategy for you to be able to utilize too. And then favorable payment terms. If you got folks who, you have longer commitments are, like they really buy, a large amount at one time. How do you make sure that, as their vendor, that there's some favorable payment terms that you can give them just because they're longtime customers? And I'm going to take a look in the chat again, because I saw a couple of things come up, and let me see. And thank you, Philip. Philip is answering some things. So it looks like, I think we're in good shape. So we're going to keep moving to the next slide. This is the key thing, collecting on your sales. Being able to make sure, that's why e-commerce is really great today. Point of sale systems are really great because it lets you collect right up front, right? You're not waiting for people to send you a check. You're not trying to, have some other sort of bottleneck in the way that doesn't help you get your money right away, okay? So as you can see here, like clear processes, making them as efficient as possible. There are so many tools out there right now, between the PayPals, Venmos, Cash Apps, just those as payment processors, as well as the Squares and the others, that there should be, no reason for you not to be able to get your money before your product goes out. Next slide. So the receivables coming in, based on people, paying for product that you might have online, or larger customers that you have paying over time. Look at your payment policies. And again, you don't have to do this in a vacuum. There are lots of things. I'm a big proponent of Google it. Put in what it is that you're looking for, and you can get some strategies that help you be able to improve what you're doing. You don't have to do this all alone. Today, we're doing this among each other as a peer network, right? You guys have gotten some great ideas sharing between each other. If you've got, other business partners, or you've got a network, and that's where our chamber network, so USBC, has chambers across the country, about 140 plus chambers across the country. If you join one of our chambers, you go to meetings, you get an opportunity to meet large companies, you get an opportunity to meet, companies that might do some of what you do. It is always great to be able to bounce these ideas off of other folks, right? So leveraging QuickBooks Online to get your invoices paid faster, leveraging things like FreshBooks if you're a smaller company. Again, there are a lot of tech tools to be looking at. Looking at your accounts receivable every day. So we've talked about kind of the cash flow piece, but your cash flow doesn't work if the money isn't coming in through accounts receivable, right? And so, making sure that you have an eye on money on product that you've already, or service that you've already given that you have not been paid for. So it really is important to not try to do this stuff by hand anymore. To really, the subscription fees are low. There's easier ways for you to be able to do this and to monitor without having to do, everything that we're talking about, right? In terms of doing it on your own. Oh, did y'all lose me? Okay, I think he wanted to just get to presentation screen. Okay, monitor your bank accounts. If you're like me, I am looking at my bank account every day because I can, right? So just, make sure that you understand what checks are coming in, what money is going out. You look at that every single day because you have online access. There's no reason for you not to use it. You don't have to walk into the bank anymore to ask what your balance is, or you don't have to wait for a paper statement to come into the mail. And it's always about focusing on process, right? And being efficient in that process. So we're going to go to the next slide. I'm going to skip this slide. We're going to move on to the next one because I want to get to a couple of other things. Minimizing your cash going out. Knowing where and when your cash goes helps you right size your spending, right? So again, looking at your bank account, understanding what money is coming in, where is it coming from, categorize it, understand what money is going out, categorize it. You use that cash flow tool that we showed. It's a great guide for you understanding where money is going in and out. Next slide. Your vendor relationships. You might be able to negotiate more favorable terms. So these are the people that you're paying money out to, right? So has your business changed over time, and particularly as a result of COVID? Looking at your cash position again at all times. Have you had any vendor changes, right? What other things can help you be able to meet your needs, right? A lot of this happened during COVID, where people had to renegotiate leases, renegotiate, folks that they were doing business with, and that they were buying, inventory and stuff from. So there's still space and room to do that, particularly if you are a loyal customer. You should never feel afraid to kind of ask that question. Next slide. So this is another tool, Chase on chase.com/vendor analysis. If you go to, and I want to say it might not be page 17, but go to page 17 of your workbook. You should be able to see that tool. I'm not going to share it right now, but just know we will give that as a list. And as you can see here, you can just put down who your vendors are, the types of services that you get from them, and just begin to sort of score them and figure out, is this someone that I still need to do business with, or do I need to find someone else to do business with because they offer, better price points? The same thing we talked about with your competition is the same thing you want to do now, is take a look at your current vendor relationships. Has anyone new come into the marketplace that might be of value? Can you talk to other people who might be their customers, of the customers of your vendors, and see what their experiences are? So, don't be afraid to ask those questions or to broach those subjects. Are there discounts they can give you for paying, before 30 days, right? So ask those questions, and all, that 5% here, 10% there, that all adds up and can save you a lot of money. As we move to the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about your team. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but think about, as the leader, as the CEO, you are the leader. You basically have hired people who do things for you that you don't need to do yourself, right? Because you need to be that visionary. You need to continue to go after business. You need to keep bringing it in. So which staff members do you need for your essential tasks that have to get done? Again, it's all about managing efficiency. What can be automated? So we talked a little bit about tech tools and things. What are some things that you don't need to do anymore that you need to outsource because it might be cheaper to do? Is there anything you can delegate? Again, a lot of times we spend not asking for help, even within our own organization. So as we look at the work, is there something that, what, I don't need to do this anymore. I can give this to somebody else. That's a trustworthy employee, right? Are there gaps that you can fill by an intern or by a contractor, so you're not paying, a salaried expense, and they can, maybe it's only a 3-month period that you need them as opposed to having to pay them over a year? And are there ways to look at this seasonally? So again, when you're examining your cash flow, where are the places that you really need to hire because you're bringing in a lot of cash, right? You're making a lot of sales, and where are the places that you need to be more lean so that you can adjust accordingly? Next slide. Real estate, looking at, where you're renting or owning, being able to possibly renegotiate if possible. I am a big proponent that if you can buy a piece of property and utilize things like SBA's 504 loan program, which gets you in at lower down payments, a longer term, allows you to, as long as you're occupying 51% of the building, you can rent out other space, so it gives you another stream of income, and it's a wealth creator for you, right? And so at the end of the day, you went into business to build wealth. That's one way of doing it. Inventory, like if you've noticed, I don't know if many of you have been in the supermarket lately, but I have found that things that used to just be there, they're not there as much anymore, right? Because what they're doing is what I'm suggesting to you. They're not holding a lot of inventory anymore, right? And so, because it ties up cash. So if you've got some excess inventory, you need to figure out how to discount that and get it off your books so you can buy the things that you need. If you need to create, space where there are times that you need to order something because it's either going to take up too much space where you are, it's going to cost too much for you to keep it, in the store, and it's not ordered as often, offer that as an option to people, right? So there's different ways to look at how you're spending on inventory, but the idea here is to free up as much cash as you have. So explore your inventory as well. Next slide. Marketing. So marketing spend is really important. And some of that means that you need to really target not only the products, but the kind of marketing that you're doing that's going to be most likely to deliver, right? There's, obviously there's social media, there's your website, there's print, there's radio, there's billboards. There are a whole host of marketing ideas. Some work depending on, the type of business you are, and some are not as effective for the type of business that you are. So you can do some things in terms of just testing them a little bit to figure out which ones work. And when you figure out which ones work, just use those. You don't have to use the whole, the whole landscape of everything that's out there from a marketing perspective. But again, make yourself unique, make yourself stand out, find those areas that work best for you. Next slide. So we're going to go into how to make cash work for you. So understanding how it's moving through your business is important. And if we move to the next slide. As I mentioned, that cash flow tool is really important. The competitor tool is very important. We've talked about the vendor tool as well. We've talked about segmentation. So all those things are really important. And let me just share with you, I want to see if there's one other place I want to share with you before we close this out and ask for questions. So I've actually tried to make this easy for you. And as this slide comes up, we've put all this in one place at usblackchambers.org/advancing-black-entrepreneurs. And we'll send this link out as well. Everything I talked about today, for the most part, we've given you access to. And we'll provide those other links as well. And I might link them in here also, so that you have a one-stop shop for these tools, and you don't have to go searching all over the place. So we've got Chase resources, which I just sort of shared some of those today, but they've got a great knowledge center across all these terrific topics, as well as these calculators like working capital, and as the tools that I've talked about today. So that's one option. I'm going to click here on our webinars. So you'll also see a list of the webinars that we do for Chase ABE, but also all the other webinars that should align to what it is that you need as a business owner. So feel free to register for those, for any of these moving forward. That's at usblackchambers.org/webinars. And then anything that we've done in the past, just as we've done this one, will be on video on demand as well. And then this is one that I really want to highlight for you. Let's see. Okay. So in addition to what we're doing here and what we're talking about as well, we're talking today about navigating your cash flow. So as you see, we do this in person. You can also find these 3 topics on demand education, as well as going to the list of all of the webinars that I mentioned. But the most important thing I want you to do is Chase offers one-on-one mentorship with a business consultant. And usually it's about a 30-minute consultation. I really want you to sign up for this. Because this is really, it's not very often that we are able to provide free coaching resources, and this is one of those things. And so if you've got a particular business challenge that you're trying to overcome, someone talked about, trying to get customers, and a few have had some other things. I encourage you to send in your information, submit your request so that you can be scheduled. You do not have to be a Chase customer for this. There's no money that you need to deposit into an account or any of that. This is free as a result of the work that we're doing with Chase. And not enough of us are taking advantage of this. So I really want you to go into this consult space, send in your information. If you don't hear back from anyone, let me know, and I will follow up on it. But this is, again, just going to scheduling a meeting with them. Just do that, go in, fill it in, and you'll be really on your way to go. You should take advantage of all the tools that make it easy for us to do what we do and to become successful business owners. And then again, a lot of them are here. I'm going to add a few more based on what our conversation is today. But with that, we can bring the slide presentation back up. I'm going to stop and I'm going to thank you all for being with us today. Warren, I'm not sure if you want to go through the upcoming events that we have. I can do that as well. But we are so thrilled to be able to work and support and assist you. And we encourage you to come back to us at any time. I know we have this final survey. So Phil, do you want to do this last one? And so you know how we started. How are we feeling a little bit now? A little bit more now. Are we feeling a little bit more confident? So we're going to post that poll and get your reactions. And so it's the, after this course, do you feel more confident? Just fill that in. And we'll give it another 30 seconds. All right, let's see the results. All right. I think we're feeling good about some of this. Let's see. I'm trying to see. I'm not sure if it's showing me the whole thing, Phil, but you'll have to chat me to let me know. And we're going to pass this one because I really do want to get to a couple of questions if we have it, and then close us out. And I'm going to answer some of the ones that are in the Q&A afterwards, but I do want to just see if there's a couple other questions. Again, we thank you all for tuning in. Let me see if there's anything else. That we need to answer. What website do you go to sign up for mentorship? I'm going to send that over to you, but it's our site for you to be able to do that. And when you get that link, and I will type it here, let's see if I can type it to everybody. When you go in, click that middle block so that you can request, and go down to the middle of the page so that you can request it. So that's the link right there. Is there a chamber in Mississippi? We do not have a chamber in Mississippi, but send us an email at programs@usblackchambers.org and we will get you connected with someone. Let's see. I want to see if there's anything else I can help with really quickly. And the team, my team is really great too in responding to the things that you need as well. So hopefully, I think that's, let's say, thank you all for, I'm glad you like the format. I do try to keep these things really interactive. It's a lot to have to, be on the other end listening to someone just talk and banter on. And so I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to really see and engage with one another, with us as a team, to make sure that we're able to help you do what you need. So with that, we're going to just move to the next things coming up. So you all know. I want to remind you all, so US Black Chambers is the first organization to offer a solely Black-owned business certification program. We have two parts of this platform, which is you can just onboard what we call onboard your business into our directory. So you just sign in, be in our directory, people will be able to find you and be able to leverage your services. And we have lots of companies that do go in looking for specific kinds of things. And so it's a great place to be. On the certification side, this literally is about getting your business certified. It gives you an opportunity to work with us with specific requests that come from our large corporate partners to be able to participate in a lot of the virtual matchmaking events and some of our cohort training that's going to be coming up. So it's a great, great benefit to be part of it. We've got some other programs coming as well. So I encourage you to go to byblack.us, byblack.us. To join today. The next slide. And our future events on June 13th, we have an event being loan ready with our community lenders. And so that's June 13th at 1 p.m. Eastern time. June 27th, we have Here's How to Build and Nurture Your Business Credit Through Relationships at 1 o'clock as well. And then if you're in the DC area, or you can get on a train or a plane to come to us, please join us July 19th through the 21st for the US Black Chambers National Conference in DC at the Waldorf Astoria. You can visit usbcconference.com for more information, but it is always a wonderful time for us to share on a much larger scale the work that we're doing. We'll have a number of different workshops. We'll have some great main stage presentations. We have a great consultation space where you can do one-on-one consult with a lot of our partners, as well as part of our Buy Black experience, where we'll have some vendors as well in that space. And it's just a great time. So I think there'll be some, right now, I think that there's 3-day passes done, and at some point, we'll get to 1 day. We are having a white party on the 21st. So we definitely would love for all of you to participate and join us. And is that it, guys? Have we gotten to the end? Yes, we're at the thank you. So again, thank you all. We'll send you a quick survey if it wasn't already put in the chat for you to complete. You will get a follow-up email as well. Please follow us on social media. We do spend a lot of time interacting with folks, so please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter, as well as YouTube. We don't typically send out the slides, Kathy, but I would say that the link that I'm going to give you for Chase basically has this presentation or the slides of this presentation kind of mapped into it, right? And so we're going to make sure that you have that link that allows you to walk exactly through this in a much more self-directed way. And you also, it is going to be on demand shortly. And I think we're also streaming on social. So there's plenty of ways for you to see this, to rewatch it. There's times when we do watch parties on these subjects as well. And your book should be a good guide for you. That's why we send the participant manual. So hopefully that helps. Will you send to our emails after all? Yep, I'm going to send to your emails all these links. So look out from an email from our programs team, programs@usblackchambers.org. It will have all this information that we've talked about today. Let's see, any other quick questions before we end? Let me just check. Oh, God, who is this that's certified? I'm happy you're certified. I hope it was a wonderful experience for you. And if you want to share with the team how great it was and how quick it was, that would be wonderful. So I think that's all we have today. If you didn't get the manual or get the presentation, the PDF of the presentation, we'll send that out as well. We always resend it out at the end of this with the rest of the links. So you're not forgotten. Believe me and trust that we will make sure that you have everything that you need. So with that, I want to thank you all for joining today. I really appreciate the feedback. I appreciate your engagement and your willingness to jump in and chat with us and chat with the team and chat with one another. And I hope it was a great experience for you. And we hope to see you soon on another webinar. Take care.